Welcome to Talking Heads on USA Global TV, starring the one and only wonderful Dr. JACALYN. It's a prestigious place where world-class influencers and experts meet, and where you'll find the most trusted advisors and coaches for all things in life and business. Visit usaglobaltv.com to sign up for our newsletter, get the value you need, and be first in line to learn about events and giveaways and other valuable content. Connect with us. Email Dr. JACALYN at usaglobaltv.com to talk about how you can become part of USA Global TV. That's USA Global TV, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to USA Global TV and Radio. I'm Dr. JACALYN KERBECK, and our show today is the United Kingdom news and culture. And if you follow us on a regular basis, you know that my co-host is Diane Floyd-Boehm. She has the day off. It's her birthday. Happy birthday, Diane. Also, Helena Chard has the day off as well. So joining me for this special episode is my friend and co-host from the Mallorca Connection, also a talking head here at USA Global TV and an elevated listener. His name is Roland FRIEDL, and he's literally rolling down the road in his RV. Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me. It's such a pleasure to join in front of the London Bridge. And I want to say to Dan, happy birthday to you. Enjoy your day.
Thank you, Roland. And it's a pleasure to have you here because we have some incredible people backstage. I have the utmost respect for them. First, I'm going to bring out Ian Pelham-Turner. He is a big reason why we have this platform and why the platform continues to grow. He and his partner, Helena Chard, reached out to me, I think, a little over a year ago, and they've just been incredible mentors and friends to me. So I really appreciate it. Ian's going to be sharing the news with us, and he is an international recognized correspondent, broadcaster, photographer. We're going to be talking about that. He has brought so much light and love to the world. Let's welcome him today. Hello, Ian.
Hi, JACALYN. All I can see at the moment is Tower Bridge. I can't actually see you at the moment at all. I don't know. I don't know whether you switched me on or you switched me off, but I'm here anyway, in voice, if not in image.
We can see you and hear you. Absolutely, we see you in your red, and you've got red behind you.
Well, that's good, but I as I say, I'm talking to London Bridge at the moment. It's quite an unusual thing to talk about, but as a trained broadcaster, I can talk to anything at any time. So,
well, fantastic. Thanks for being here. We also want to bring out another special friend. This guy, he's always dressed impeccably. He is a celebrity chef. He has cooked and prepared meals for royalty, for U.S. presidents, and he's also the head of the Fisheries in Scotland. And he's a really great guy, and he looks really darn good in a kilt. Let's welcome him, Simon MacDonald.
Hello, everybody. Nice to be back. And yeah, well, as you can guess, I'm not wearing my kilt today. I mean, caught out of uniform a bit, I think. There we are. But it's lovely to be back. This is a real family. I was going to say a family show, but it is a family with a show. I feel. And yes, welcome, Roland. Nice to see you. And
Thank you.
yeah, I was worried when Dr. JACALYN was referring to you as rolling down the hills in Austria. That I hope you've got the brakes on and you can't.
Yes, I did.
Good.
He's pulled off to the side of the road, right, Roland?
No, not on the side of the road. I'm just standing in the middle of a farmhouse in between donkeys, horses, cows, cats, and chicken.
You should never act with animals and children. You should know that by now.
Yeah, I know. You have no. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you, Roland, for being here. And Simon, to your point, we really feel like we are a family here because of people like you guys, that you're just so open and forthcoming, and you show up at the highest level. So thank you. And Simon, I know that you've brought a wonderful guest to the platform today. Let's bring Sally out before we start with the news and the culture. So Simon, I'm going to turn it over to you to introduce your friend.
Yes, Sally James, quite a remarkable person. I have the privilege of meeting her in Boston just recently when I was over the International Seafood Expo there, and she was involved in our pavilion. But Sally, she's a bit of a dark horse. She's very, very modest, and I won't say necessarily shy, but she's very, very modest. She's written 18 books now. She's been television chef. I mean, what she doesn't know about food is not worth eating, basically. Wonderful, wonderful person. And it's very nice to see her coming onto the show today.
Let's welcome her to the program. And Ian, by the way, we can't see you now. Welcome, Sally James. Nice to have you.
Thank you. And thank you, Simon. You make me blush.
That's very not the first time you haven't made me blush as well.
Well, Sally, welcome to USA Global TV and Radio. It's a pleasure to have you here. And we're just going to start off the show. Instead of leaving you backstage, I thought let's bring you out and be part of it. We're going to start off with Ian providing us some of the news. Ian, we can't see you at the moment.
No, and I can't see you. I've got my camera switched on. I think you switched me off your end, but yes. So what is the news in Britain today? Well, first of all, an American situation has happened in Britain, and that is that Rishi Sunak, our Chancellor of the Exchequer, has been discovered to have a green card. And he's had a green card for almost several years, even though he's been an MP in Britain and also Chancellor of the Exchequer. And we understand it's being said in Britain at the moment that with a green card, you actually have to be virtually living in the country of the green card, obviously the United States. And how is that going to work when he is Chancellor of the Exchequer at the same time? So Rishi Sunak was seen to be really the front runner to take over from Boris Johnson. He had all the glitz, all the glamour, and that has really sort of come off the wagon just totally at the moment as well, because he's also been, his wife has been seen to be a non-domicile in UK, which means until now, not all the taxes that she's been with her income that she's been earning across the world has come into Britain. And this is all allegations on the part of the really the Labour Party, the opposition party in UK. So at the moment, we have this American sort of story happening as we speak. Both of them, both Boris Johnson, our Prime Minister, and Rishi Sunak have been served with notices from the Metropolitan Police as well to say that they've been fined for actually participating in parties during, or a party at the moment, during lockdown when everybody else was not supposed to be doing this type of thing at all. So Boris Johnson has been saying, it's all down to my birthday. Someone took me into a cabinet office. Someone gave me a birthday cake. I was only there for 9 minutes. Rishi Sunak was with me as well. And now I've been fined because of it. And I'm very, very sorry. So it's a very contrite prime minister that we are seeing at the moment from that end. And in reality, it seems to be one of these weeks when everything seems to be happening with news stories. It's breaking news stories all the time. The Queen, bless her heart, has started going back to doing Zoom calls again. And the reality with the Zoom calls is that she has now been saying that she is extremely tired, that she may be suffering, and who knows, it hasn't been said, from the long-term effects of COVID as well. So we are looking at things like that. We're begging to have American tourists coming back to Britain again is part of what's happening as well, because our retail index rate is 0.1%. In other words, people are not spending in Britain right now, and we desperately need the American tourists back at the same time. And I know American tourists actually want to come to Britain at the moment. One of the hotels we work with, which is a very famous hotel for Americans, the Athenaeum Hotel in Park Lane in London, they've been saying there's £150,000 worth of business from Americans already happening from June onwards, which is obviously the time when the Queen is going to have the major 70 years celebrations as well. So there's a lot going on in real terms. Obviously, we looked at some of the other sort of stories that are happening right now. David Beckham's son getting married, and that's been quite big news, and how David Beckham gave his son this incredible car as a wedding present. So I think at the moment we seem to be very much focused in Britain, partly on the weather. It's overcast in London this afternoon. And I think the reality as well is that what we're sort of seeing at the moment is breaking news as we constantly speak. And who knows, by the end of this program, we could find we don't have a prime minister. Nothing is for certain anymore in Britain at the moment.
Wow, that's a lot of news. Thank you, Ian. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Apart from that, everything's perfectly normal.
Yeah, I was going to say. Who would like to comment on what Ian shared?
I'm happy
Roland,
to go ahead as well. Roland, be my guest.
Yes, I want to tell Ian and all the other people from the United Kingdom, you know, your prime minister is not the only one who was partying during the lockdown when the people were suffering. I've been living in Spain 14 years till end of March. There was the same in my home country, Austria. It was the same. So it's not unique. It's happened everywhere. And you know, we are all human beings, and sometimes we just fail. And well, let's see what's going to happen. But I'm sorry for that, to hear that.
I think they're getting political parties and birthday parties a little bit confused.
Yeah.
Sounds like it. Yes. And I think from here in the States that, you know, inflation is sky high, so that might have an impact on people traveling. But I'm excited to hear that as of June, people are already booking. They're already booked in.
Well, yeah. we want to see as many Americans coming across as possible this year. You are our favorite people. not just because I'm talking to an American channel this afternoon, but I know how to suck up to Americans as well, you know. And the reality is, and the reality is, you're our favorite people by far. You know, come across, you know, experience what's going on again now. We're you know, personally looking at working with the government at the moment, and I was with a government minister, a trade minister and a business minister on Monday discussing a new project that and it's all to do with kindness, offering kindness. So trust me, at the moment, Britain needs kindness coming in, and we need the American tourists coming back. Come on back.
You know, I'm in my mind, I'm coming there this summer. So let's keep me as one of those coming back. So Sally, would you like to add anything?
Well, I'm actually just recovering. I always thought Australians were the favorites of the Brits. Lucky I live in America now, because I'm planning on coming over this year.
When are you going to go over, Sally?
You know, I'm hoping to make it around my birthday in June, to because I absolutely adore the Royal Highland Show in Scotland, and so my plan is, and I've got my best friend that lives in London, so I'm sort of planning to do both around June, July. Oh,
that's fantastic. Well, if we can coordinate, we'll see if we can make that happen.
Yes, indeed. Well, I'm going to be at the Royal Highland Show as well. Really looking forward to it. Yes, it's a fabulous event. I mean, all Scotland and 90% of the world turn up for the Royal Highland Show. It's a wonderful, wonderful event.
What's the date for that?
Yeah, need to compare calendars on that one, and you know, we'll meet up there.
I'm sorry, Simon. What's the date on that?
Oh, now you're asking. June sometime. In June sometime. Yes. Right. Where are we? Yes, the 22nd to the 26th. I believe it is. Yes, it is 22nd of June to the 26th of June. So we're actually going to be there on the 22nd, on the opening day of the show. That's usually a fantastic day at the Royal Highland. And Sally, on the food side, there's a great food hall at the Royal Highland Show, which showcases really the best of Scottish food. And there's chef's theatre there as well. So you'll be quite content with that lot. But everything else that's there it's just mind-blowing, incredible.
I mean, I remember seeing all the heritage animals and the draft horses and all the parades. I mean, I went for 3 days in a row. I was just mesmerized.
Yeah. I mean, it's impossible to get around it all in one day. So that's it. We've got a daughter coming from Mauritius for the occasion as well. So she's going to be at the Royal Highland Show. So looking forward to it. And generally, the weather can be actually quite good there as well. I had to chuckle to myself when Ian was saying it's dull and overcast in London. I should think it's very dull and overcast over 10 Downing Street just now. But we're actually quite sunny in Scotland today. We're
Okay, Simon, don't boast. The reality is, I just wondered, are you going to do the annual tossing of the caber at the Highland Games this year?
Modesty prevents me from doing that. But yes, well, a lot of the Highland Games circuits are opening up again this year. The local one here is one of the bigger events, the Inverary Highland Games, and I'm just waiting on dates for that. That Inverary is just such a beautiful, beautiful village at the head of Loch Fyne, which is actually only about 20 minutes from where I am. And centre point in Inverary there is the famous Inverary Castle, which is home to the Duke of Argyll. And Inverary Castle, incidentally, everybody in the world has watched Downton Abbey, and it featured on the Christmas show, I think it was in 2012, on Downton Abbey. And it's a real fairy tale of a castle. Beautiful, beautiful place. And Inverary itself can be an incredibly busy little village or town. Everybody wants to live there, but then when you suddenly think, you're getting mobbed with people from all over the world, really all year round, it's quite a daunting prospect to live there. It's almost impossible to get parked there. But it is a beautiful, beautiful place. But we've got a lot of tourists coming here now. I was in Oban yesterday, and Oban was a beautiful west coast fishing town and very popular on the tourist trail. And I was looking at the registration numbers on cars and camper vans going through, and there was Portuguese, there was Germans, there were Dutch, there was French, no American ones, and plenty from all parts of the UK as well. To walk down the pavements or the sidewalks there, it was darn near impossible. It was so busy yesterday. Absolutely amazing. Wonderful to see. Lovely to see. The tourist season has really started just all of a sudden here. So great news.
That is fabulous news. Thank you for sharing that. Is there any other information you want to share in terms of culture before we meet Sally and find out more about what she's doing?
Well, yes, I said before we joined the show there that, this is the program of news and culture, and Ian's definitely the news, and I must be the culture then. That we've just got so much happening in Scotland just now. I think our First Minister, Nicola Sturgeon, is rubbing her hands in glee, thinking of all the trouble that is going on just now politically with Mr. Johnson and Mr. Sunak as well. I think both their careers are really pretty much on the line now, and and I feel that they should do the honourable thing. Boris Johnson has been sort of regarded as being Teflon Boris because he managed to slip out of every situation. But I think this one, he's really going to have to go the extra mile to get his head above water with this one. I think his days really do have to be numbered now, for the honour of the country as much as anything else. So that's it. On my normal column, fisheries, well, fishing is still going fine. Yesterday, my trip to Oban involved me going out to visit one of the new seaweed farm developments. And this seems to be the trendy thing now in Scotland, seaweed farming. In seaweed, it's the next wonder food. It's so good for you. It's full of nutrients, full of iodine, and all the really good vitamins that you could possibly want in great concentration as well. So this is this is something which is really gathering a lot of pace just now in Scotland. So we have quite a number of applications for it, and it was just so lovely being out in the water that we're sailing up through this magnificent Scottish sea loch. And it just brought it all back to me that this, the west coast of Scotland, the wonders of sailing here, and the beauty of the place is just unparalleled anywhere.
Wow, that sounds fantastic, and I have that on my list to go there as well.
Me too.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I'm not American. I'm sorry for that. I'm not American, but it's on my list now. I will come.
Good. Oh, yeah, it's a fantastic part of the world. It really is very, very beautiful. We've got a bit of everything here in very compact space. But when you get up into the Highlands, there's a lot of space because there's not a lot of people. It's just there's a lot of magic about this place. It's almost a fairy tale country in many respects, but we're serious, hard-working, hard-playing, pretty hard-drinking bunch up here. We really are. We've got plenty of good whiskies, and we've got lots of good salmon and lots of good seafood.
What else do you need, right?
That's it.
Sir Simon, you got me. Absolutely, you got me.
Well, thank you so much for sharing the culture, and Ian for sharing the news. I want to spotlight our special guest because we don't have guests here very often. Sally James, welcome. Sally is an award-winning author, educator, chef, television presenter, and syndicated radio show host. And you've won all kinds of awards. You mentioned that you are in the States right now as opposed to being in Australia. So tell us a little bit about why you're so passionate about food.
Oh gosh, I think it really all started with my mother being an absolutely horrific cook. She just really ruined everything, burned everything, and I decided, and she didn't like being in the kitchen, so I was a bit of a young rebel. So I thought, well, if she doesn't like it, I probably will. And so that really started me off on my cooking career. And I ended up leaving home at 16 and putting myself through culinary school. And really, it's evolved in many ways since then. I used to work with Australian Olympic athletes at the Institute of Sport, working on research and vitamins and mineral supplementation for their performance and general diets. And then the nutritional side just evolved for me. And I worked with the National Heart Foundation in Australia, educating Australians, and that was really a big turning point for me because it used to almost depress me. I was living in Tasmania actually when Simon was talking about Scotland and the magic of it. It really did make me think of Tasmania because that's also a really magical little place that people don't think of going when they visit Australia. But it really is. It's a bit like Scotland. It's there's not a lot of people there, and so there's lovely wilderness areas. It's got extremes of nature. The water is absolutely stunning. The seafood is amazing. The wines from Tasmania are incredible. But anyway, I was in Tasmania and working with the Heart Foundation, and people would come to see me after being to their doctor after a heart attack or just a bad heart verdict, and they'd be absolutely depressed because they'd be told that they can't eat this. It's all no this, no that, no this. And so it became my goal to give people yeses in life, that, healthy eating can be enjoyable and healthy, and, and they can get up every morning excited about what they're going to eat. And it can be part of a healthy living regime, that there's really no no's. It's just a balance of the right kind of foods. And so that sort of became my mission through life. And, I wrote cookbooks, I did education, and then I moved to America in 2000. And a lot of companies that I worked with followed me across. I did work with the Australian Trade Commission, and my work kind of evolved to educating Americans about Australian ingredients. So it took a bit of a shift, but my focus has still always been around healthy and, you know, of course, local is a big thing here in America, and, you know, I firmly support that. So, you know, it's been a really interesting evolution. And then at the Boston Seafood Show several years ago, I stumbled across all the guys from Seafood from Scotland, and I'm of Scottish blood, and so I was quite enamored to see what they were doing. And then I went to Scotland and just absolutely fell in love with it, and fell in love with the food, the seafood, the people, the way of life, and ended up starting to work for Seafood from Scotland. And what I really love about working with the Scottish and, you know, being a voice for them is that the fishing industry there is, it's a way of life. It's something that's been going on for centuries and centuries, and it supports villages. It's been handed down through generations. So, you know, in so many countries, you know, in Australia and the US, fishing is a corporation. It's a company that's been established. They've built a farm, and it's not so much a part of the people. I mean, there are certainly places in Australia that are that way, and in America that are that way, but not so much as Scotland. And it's just so pristine. The waters are amazing. The variety of seafood that comes from there, like the langoustine that we're working with, the salmon. To me, it's just a step above anything else you'll get around the world, and it's just been a real honor to work with them. So yeah, so that's really sort of been put my life in a little box, and that's where it's evolved. And you know, it was a thrill to meet Simon and all the langoustine fishermen who are really keen to explore the US market after the impacts from Brexit. Much the same as Australia is now turning to the US as well, because of all the tariffs established between China and Australia. So the US everyone's looking to the US right now for marketing, for tourism, all kinds of reasons.
Sally, thank you so much. And I just want to add on to what Simon said, that you are very humble, because your list of clients is a who's who across the world, the people, the people who have turned to you. And so I just commend you on everything that you're doing. I want to open it up to our panel. Ian, we can see you now. Yay. So who would like to?
I just used the chimpanzee principle. You push a button, it doesn't work. You push a button, it doesn't work. You push a button and a banana comes out, and there I am.
Well, nice to have you back with us. So I'm going to open up to you guys to ask questions of Sally as well.
Oh, there's a big rush there for the mic. No, I should add that Sally at the Boston show became my official photographer by accident, I think, because wearing the kilt, and particularly when you wear a kilt in America, everybody wants to be photographed beside this crazy Scotsman wearing a kilt, and so you know, well, there it goes again.
I told you I'm not deleting it, no matter what it takes. I'm keeping it.
I don't think you will. I believe that is a Sally photograph.
That is, yeah. I'm responsible for that one.
It's a great picture.
Yeah. Oh no! Everybody just would throw a camera into Sally's hands and say, "Here, take your photograph. Take your photograph." So eventually, Sally was carrying her own camera around all the time. Wherever I was, click, 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 click. It was, you know, like having your own paparazzi following you around.
Well, the picture is excellent. I have a question, but I'll defer and see if Roland or Ian, you have something.
I was just wondering, obviously, if we're talking about food at the moment and the lack of it, and as you know, UNICEF and UNESCO are both talking about the problems. How do you think the world food economy is going to go in the future? Because you look at Ukraine at the moment, which we see as the breadbasket of wheat, for example. How do you see the future of it going? Because I know with a lot of African countries that I have talked to, they want to become much more provisional in supplying different products as well. So do you see new continents coming up? Do you see, as Simon was talking about, things like seaweed? Do you see the tastes of people changing in this world?
Definitely so. I actually have a friend that's working with some of the government groups in Africa and helping them develop markets and products that would be viable in the US. Seaweed is definitely a growing, well, it's very popular here in the States and definitely growing in demand. As are products that are made using seaweed as, like it becomes almost a functional ingredient. So it's used a lot in making as plant-based meats, so to speak. So there's a market for it in that aspect, as well as just enjoyment of seaweed as it is in its raw, beautiful state, because it's such, I remember traveling all around the UK having seaweed butter and seaweed salt and, used in so many different applications, as well as, wrapped around sushi and the like. But as for the world economy, it's interesting because a part of me, wants to think of the great success that the Slow Food Group is having in driving people to looking more, in their 100-mile radius and really, trying to get away from this, agribusiness and huge crops and doing a lot more small farms. But at the same time, we're a huge population and we do need exports. We do need to import ingredients from other countries. And I think it's really just we've just touched, on a small amount of that. And I think there is great potential for that to grow. And, and to be helping other countries that have been impacted by, poverty. And, for example, the Brazil nut down in the Amazon area. That crop, educating people more about the Brazil nut, because it's hardly ever used here. And in eating more Brazil nuts, we'd actually be helping villages all around, Chile and, the Amazon area to be growing more. And, I think that's a really worthwhile venture, is exploiting those crops from other countries to help them, reestablish and grow, and, become a greater force in the world of, the food economy.
Is there one magic new food that you're seeing? Is there a, because basically, obviously, what are we, 6 billion at the moment on the planet, and that's growing all the time. India will, I think, overtake China shortly in the next decade for population, head of population as well. So are there any sort of things to look forward to? You're talking about nuts at one stage, but is there any sort of new sort of superfoods coming out? And do you think things like veganism, which seems to be growing in UK especially, is that going to play an important part in what we eat in the future?
I really think so. The whole plant-based concept is really growing, and I'm really of two minds about it. I think if you don't want to eat meat, just don't eat meat, because a lot of the foods that are produced are, laboratory produced and in, genetically modified, and there's questions around the health value of that. But definitely products like, all the different milks that you see when you go into a coffee shop now in the States, probably, I just have regular milk, and I'm probably the exception rather than the rule these days. People are having oat milk or macadamia milk or almond milk or soy milk, and the list goes on. And that is definitely a growing trend, as is gluten-free. It seems like it's popular now to have an allergy to something or not be able to eat something. It really is. It's like, if you just go somewhere and say, "Oh yeah, I eat everything," people turn around and, "What? You do?" Yes. So definitely the vegan craze is not seen to be dying away anytime soon. It depends where you are as well. California is definitely the capital of that, trendy eating of, vegan, gluten-free and the like. Whereas if you get into central United States, it's much more of, just real food. So it does depend where you are. And, it's really hard to tell which direction it's going to go, because the pandemic and COVID has really driven people back to home cooking. And so that's seen much more of a trend towards more natural eating, more healthy eating, and a switch towards buying more seafood and getting more experimental in their homes to eat more of the foods they would have once only eaten in a restaurant. So, there's lots of different trends that are driven by different things going on in the country.
I have to say that I'm just going to throw this open to the panel. First of all, I'm not a drinker, but there's a new drink that's been introduced, a new cocktail that's been introduced in Britain. And I heard about it. We have a thing in Britain called April the 1st. It's called April Fool's Day. And all sorts of media stories come out on that particular day that aren't true, but people have to guess which ones are true, which ones aren't true. And there was this cocktail being promoted, and it's a cocktail of vodka. Okay, I don't drink vodka, but I think that's fine. But they're going to mix it with sheep milk. Now, I can't think of well, first of all, I don't know how you milk a sheep anyway, and I don't really want to know that from the panel, just in case you've got any information on it. It's not quite the sort of the thing I was thinking about, but sheep milk. I've never even thought that sheep have milk. But what do you think of growing trends in rather unusual cocktails and drinks as well?
Oh, cocktails are it's interesting because I've had to do quite a bit of research on the trends of millennials and Gen X and what they're eating. But definitely cocktails are overtaking Chardonnay. That's definitely the case, as where a lot more people are drinking cocktails with their meals now, whereas cocktail used to be something you'd have at a party or before drink and the like. But actually sheep's milk is very, very common. And getting more and more common. And I know Australia does export a lot of sheep's milk products, yogurt, cheese. As in Spain, huge amount of sheep's milk cheese is coming out of Spain into the US, and it is popular. And I'm trying to get my head around the sheep's milk and vodka, though.
Roland?
Ian, I think you'll find you get milk out of a sheep at the same end of the animal as you would with a cow. But what gets me, where the heck do you get the milk out of an almond?
Too much information.
Where do you get the milk out of an almond?
That's a good point.
I've looked at it on every side and I cannot see the outlet.
Where's that, Ada?
Or a Highland sheep with a single malt or something like that.
Yes.
Now I want to add something to food and nutrition, because I'm absolutely food-born. I love food, and since my early years as a student, I was selling a kitchen machine to the best cooks in Europe, like Paul Bocuse in France. Unfortunately, he passed away. Eckert Witzigmann and all these cooks. And so I was presenting on a trade fair kitchen machine on international hotel fairs and stuff like that, and selling this kitchen machine. So I was always in cooking. And unfortunately, the opposite than your story is selling, my mother couldn't cook at all. So my brother and myself, I guess we have been 6 or 8. We said to her, you know what? You don't have to pre-cook for us, because she was working as a hairdresser. We learned to cook and do it ourselves because we didn't like their food anyway. So in the early years, I started cooking, and I tried. I was vegan for 9 months. I was vegetarian. I was frugivore, eating only raw fruits. I was carnivore. So I tried all these different diets just to find a fit for myself. But what I wanted to add is what I see since the pandemic too. Of course, more people are cooking in home, but also home delivering is increasing like crazy. So people are ordering stuff and bring it home. So prepared stuff, that's what I see. And what I also miss a little bit with food is the cultural aspect, not only about the ingredients, the origin. By the way, I'm a slow food fan, so I always support local products. But it's the aspect of gatherings, families, friends, gatherings, coming together, enjoying food together, maybe cook together, but at least enjoying the food together and have a nice conversation, because people are more and more singles. There's more and more hectic. They're eating on the go. Everything is on the go. So what do you think about the trends on that, that we really missed that the family comes together at least on a Sunday and celebrate some food? I know in the US you have at least Thanksgiving, that is one, but the rest of the year, everyone is by him or his own.
No, I totally agree. I lament the loss of that. And even now, I haven't actually missed not dining out. And the times that I have gone out, and it actually makes me quite sad to see people dining out together and they're on their phone. They're not communicating. They're not talking. They're, I don't know what they're doing on their phone that's so important that, the person that they're dining with, they can't have a conversation with. But, I am seeing a great loss in just communication and communion, and I think that's quite sad, and food has always been something that's brought people together. And it's one thing I loved about Italy was that beautiful communion, and the big lunches that went on, and the siestas, and I think that's that makes life so great and enriches us with mixing with people and dining with people and cooking for people. I mean, it's one of the greatest gifts that I can give someone is to create a meal for a group or another person, and to be thinking about that person when you're cooking and enjoying meals with them. So I absolutely agree with you.
I can relate to that, Sally, because I remember when I was in my 20s, I raised up my first huge company. And my top leaders, I didn't invite them to a restaurant. I invited them to my home privately, and I cooked for them, because I say an invitation and paying a bill in a restaurant, everybody can do this, but inviting at home in your privacy and cook for them, it's much more special. And I really encourage people to come together and have gatherings together and as I said, not on the cell phones, you're communicating, enjoying the food, the taste, the smelling, the texture, and communicating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I just wanted to add that before the pandemic, I would go out to dinner probably 4 or 5 times a week. I loved going out to dinner and networking with people. There were places where they had really big bars, and I would just walk around talking to people like I was interviewing them, looking for people for the show early on. And now in the last 2 years, I think I've gone out twice. And I also love to cook, but I don't have any time to cook. So what I wanted to ask you about, Sally, is this. We have a number of people who come to this platform, and we're talking about longevity. We're talking about healthy eating. And it comes up over and over again about the importance of intermittent fasting. And so my question for you, I've been doing intermittent fasting for about 5 weeks, but I love food. I miss the food. I miss eating, so many things. So my question for you is, as a trend, because it seems like it is trending, how does that impact what you're doing and also the food industry in general?
I don't really know that fasting is going to impact how we eat and what we eat the times we're not fasting. It is, I've seen it go up and down and up. I mean, I know when I was in my 20s, fasting was what you did. And, I would sometimes fast for 4 days, and, it didn't particularly work for me, but I think it's a very individual thing. Some people find it very cleansing, and they find it a very mindful time as well. But, I don't really know whether it's going to have any impact on the food industry as such. Hopefully it will drive people to eat in a more healthy manner. My concern with it is that a lot of people will do it. It's sort of like what you call the yo-yo dieting phase, is that, you go on a really strict diet for a certain amount of time, and then when you go off that diet, you are so craving the foods that you've denied yourself that, it just forms this yo-yo, and you go back and you eat all those things that you really missed. Whereas if you never gave them up in the first place and just had, smaller amounts, it could be a better long-term gain, because, we are looking at long-term rather than just, immediate health. I mean, interestingly, I for the last, I guess, 30 years of my life, I've mainly eaten fish as my source of protein. And hereditarily, I've always had high cholesterol. borderline, but because I'm a runner and I eat lots of fish, my HDLs were high, and so I didn't, my doctor didn't see it as a problem that needed to be treated. But when the pandemic hit, I switched my work to helping a chef in a restaurant, and I just decided I'm just going to eat whatever he feeds me. And I've eaten more meat. I mean, good meat. I'm, fussy about the kind of meat I eat, and probably more butter and cheese. Everything that I have in my life, and my cholesterol dropped 50 points. So sort of, I was totally expecting something different to be the result when I went for my test, and so that sort of confounded, all these rules that you have around surrounding food, and I think a lot of it could be tied up with stress and being too strict on yourself, and I think there's a message in being a little more lenient on yourself when you're eating and just looking at the big picture.
Yes, I think you nailed it. Especially, I know with me, I'm just so tough on myself 24/7. But I really appreciate what you shared, and I think that one impact that it could have is, to your point, that people will eat better food, higher quality food, maybe more organic food, and also turn to experts like you because they want to have a special recipe, or they want to make something that they couldn't just, look in the refrigerator and figure out how to put this with this with this. So I feel that that's also worth celebrating. And then you invite people over, to Roland's point, to celebrate what it is that you just prepared.
No, absolutely. And I think there's a lot to be said to looking at, the quality of the ingredients that you eat, I think is really pivotal, and switching the balance. I mean, in America, the protein is huge and the amount of vegetables is small when you look at the average plate. And I think, changing that balance and having smaller amounts of protein and larger amounts of the accompaniments where all the color and most of the flavor is anyway, I think trying to shift that trend, and I think that's what the whole plant-based trend is really looking towards as well. But it's better on your budget as well.
That's true.
Yeah. Sally, did you not find as well when when you became really known for cooking and you did some television shows? So this is something I certainly noticed, that as soon as I started doing that, then I used to get less and less invites out for dinner. People are frightened to cook for you.
I know.
Yeah. The thing is, we're like anybody else. We've got to eat. Please invite us over.
Yeah, pizza's fine with me.
Yeah, not there to judge. We're there to enjoy ourselves.
No. Well, it's the common lament of so many chefs is no one asked me out for dinner.
We've just been discovering, because obviously with the royal event in June, we've just been discovering what the Queen eats. And I can give you an exclusive. But at the same time, I don't know where she's coming from with this, because apparently several members of the royal family will have a banana for breakfast. And that sounds perfectly normal. But they will have a banana that is virtually black, and that's what they demand. They demand bananas that are virtually, in the last stages of being edible. And also in the afternoons, this is something I can understand as a reformed chocoholic. That in reality, that the Queen likes her chocolate biscuits in the afternoon with her cup of tea. Isn't that British?
She's very partial to a bit of smoked salmon. I can vouch for that.
Since you mentioned smoked salmon, a question I have for Sally and for Simon. I was in a store, and I'm not going to mention their name, but they are known for organic food and the highest level. And I see these packages of smoked salmon, and I thought of Simon immediately, and I wanted to purchase it, but I thought, I don't know which is better, or if they're good at all, because they're already packaged. Do you have any thoughts on that for our audience and for me?
Yeah, it's quite difficult to tell from the outer skin of a vacuum pack exactly what the quality of the salmon's like on the inside. But generally, what you're looking for, the color should be quite vibrant. If it's too pale, there's maybe an issue there with shelf life. If there's any signs of oils seeping from it as well, that's an area to be wary on. There is if you look at salmon, you can see there's definite grain to the meat there as well, and you want the grain to be fairly close rather than wide open. The more open the grain, then the older or the bigger the fish is, and an ideal weight of a fish would be around, for salmon, around about 3.5 kilos, which is what, 7 pounds in your money. And that gives the optimum quality value of the flesh for eating. So that's what I would use personally when I was doing my salmon smoking, and be a 3.5 kilo fish, and you're going to get a good product there. A lot of adage in the saying that you can't make a silk purse out of a sow's ear. When I went to Portugal and I was setting up a smokehouse there for a client, which invariably I became actually a partner with it for a while. Trying to get a 3.5 kilo fish in Portugal was nigh on impossible. They all thought, oh, big is beautiful. And you've got these great big things that, Captain Ahab would have been delighted to go and harpoon. I mean, there's a huge big salmon there. So after a while, we did sort of tend to educate people a bit, and they realized that the smaller fish was better quality for eating at the end of the day. So, avoid anything that's seeping oil, and if it's looking pale and anemic, then I'd steer clear of that. Go for something that's got a bit of vibrance in the color. It should still look alive, basically.
Thank you so much. Sally, would you like to add anything?
I pretty much agree with what Simon had said, and it's interesting because the work I've been doing with the chef here in the States, he's one of these chefs that the bigger the better. He likes that nice fat belly, and whereas I'm way more on Simon's page, that I think the better quality eating fish is a smaller salmon. I like it a bit leaner, and I think it does smoke much better. So I would agree that if I looked at a packet of smoked salmon and saw those large white stripes going through it, I know that wouldn't be pleasant eating for me. I look for a nice clean, bright orange flesh, and again, like Simon said, you don't see the oil residue inside the plastic film. And I think the way it's cut is important too. Seeing nice thick slices will help preserve the quality as well.
Yeah, and with the cutting of it as well, the what we would call a D-cut slice, and that's sort of taking it at an angle down through the flesh down to the skin. So you've got all the layer of the fish there. The other way is what we call long slice, and it comes out like long, great ribbons of salmon. Well, you get a different texture and flavor from one side of the fish as it works down towards the skin. It's very different again. So a D-cut, and particularly if it's been hand sliced, there's nothing to beat hand sliced. If it's been machine sliced, then that generally means the fish has to be tempered down to about -3 degrees. It's not quite frozen, but it's getting there. And that affects the texture somewhat as well. Hand sliced, no, you do that in ambient temperature. You'll get a better quality product. Now, Ian's starting to drool.
Is there a different way? Do different countries smoke in different ways? So in Scotland, compared to America, are they smoking in a different way? So there's a different taste.
Yeah, everybody smokes in a slightly different manner. It's the wood that you use that gives the big difference in the flavor. In the States, they tend to use a lot of hickory and cherry, and the hickory gives quite a sort of sweet, nutty flavor onto the product. In Scotland, we tend to use oak. I prefer to use oak cut from whiskey barrels, which was a much more mature oak. And oddly enough, the whiskey barrels are made of American oak because it's denser than the French oak, so it burns more evenly. So I would use American oak, and I'd specify that from the cooperage I'd picked the stuff up from. Incidentally, we had a lot of fun getting the getting my supply of oak chips, because I had a big Volvo estate car and I had a trailer behind it, and I'd climb into this cart where the chippings from the cooperage and the repairing and mending barrels, it was all cascading into there. Filthy, dirty job, but lovely smell, because you've got the angel share of the whiskey still impregnated into the oak. So I'd load up all the bags, load the trailer with it, and I'd load the back of the Volvo car with it as well, and drive home. But I would have to drive with the windows open, and it didn't matter what the weather was. The windows had to be open because the fumes coming off the angel share of the whiskey was really quite heady. And if I'd got stopped, then that would have been it. They'd have just, would you like to wear these iron handcuffs, sir? We'll take you away for a little holiday. So it was just a lovely, delightful smell. But when you go to the likes of Germany and France uses a lot of beech wood for it. It gives a slightly lighter flavor than the more mature, mellow flavor from oak. If you go around the Black Forest area, they use beech, but they add a little bit of larch into it as well. Gives more of a resinous color and a slightly sharper tang to the flavor as well. So different countries use different woods. In South Africa, I was using yellow wood, which is a hardwood there. It's a beautiful wood, and that gave such a lovely, delicate flavor. But I was also using oak as well, again cut from wine barrels there. So it does make the big difference.
I just wonder, are there parts of the world that haven't yet discovered smoked salmon? I got this image of you, going in a canoe up the Orinoco or somewhere, and trying to teach indigenous Indians on the values of smoked salmon. Are there parts of the world that still you want to hit?
I think I've been just about everywhere. I mean, we used to ship from Beverly Hills in the west to Tokyo in the east, so we've pretty much got it all sewn up. Yes, it'd be interesting going up the Orinoco or going up the Amazon and so on. Perhaps smoked piranha might be the answer there as well. Brave guy who goes into the water to fish one of those out.
Roland, you had a comment?
I have a question to the experts, because I'm a salmon lover, because I love fatty fish. I'm a smoked salmon lover. I only buy wild catch. Do you recommend salmon or other fish from fish farms, or you say only wild catch?
But fish farming's gone through quite an evolution, and they've got it right now. In its infancy, they had all sorts of issues and problems, and it was getting a lot of bad press because of the chemicals used to treat against sea lice. Because sea lice are a horrible, horrible thing that attacks the salmon, and they're really not nice. So they've pretty much got this all sorted out now. And farmed salmon, I mean, I would actually eat farmed salmon now rather than eating wild salmon, partly because of an ecological thing. Wild salmon is a lot rarer now than it used to be. Very difficult to find. All the salmon fishing rivers here in Scotland now are working on a catch and release basis. So if you catch a 30-pound salmon, much as it might hurt you, you've got to put it back in the water again and let it swim away for somebody else to catch. So wild salmon, very, very difficult to get hold of unless it's been properly poached. And then you can have it grilled and still wouldn't be done under the Trade Description Act because it's still been poached originally. But farm salmon, they've got it right. Like all farms, of whatever they produce on a farm, be it crops or be it livestock or be it fish, you get good farms and you get bad farms. So you just got to, find out who is producing the best quality and you buy accordingly.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We're just out of time, but I do have a question, and I'm sure it's a topic for another show. But yesterday, Roland was part of another panel discussion that we had for our Talking Heads expert show. And the topic that I brought up was banning plastic, yay or nay. And I'm just wondering, because we talked about this yesterday, Roland, the fact that so much of our food is packaged in plastic so that I guess it lasts longer, it's easier to handle. just at a very, very high level, because we don't have time, but I'd love to invite you back to discuss it. What is the impact that plastic has on the taste of our food? And is there some other way that it could be that salmon, for let's just go with smoked salmon, is there some other way that it could be packaged and viable for purchase if it wasn't in plastic?
Right, well, let's dispel one myth straight away, that vacuum packing doesn't increase the shelf life. It just acts as a barrier to prevent microorganisms that would cause spoilage. That's all it does. It doesn't increase shelf life at all. Plastic shouldn't give an additional taste onto food, although, you know, the wine purists would say, don't drink wine out of a plastic bottle. You know, it's got to be a glass bottle or a wooden cask. And in a way I can go along with that, but it's purely a psychological thing. It actually doesn't really affect the taste, or it shouldn't affect the taste unless there's something wrong with the plastic itself. But one aspect, though, we really are using far too much plastic. We're far too comfortable with it. It's been around in ever increasing quantities. It's cheap. But it's the disposal of it that is causing this huge, huge problem on a global basis just now.
Thank you, Simon. Sally, would you like to weigh in on that?
No, I do agree with Simon totally that we are relying so much on it. I mean, for me, with smoked salmon, I would be struggling to suggest a way to package smoked salmon to maintain its moisture. Unless you were planning on not storing it for so long in another type of packaging. But I do agree that, I mean, stores here like Trader Joe's and Costco and where everything, absolutely everything is in plastic and clamshells and things that just do not break down. And styrofoam as well. We just we are relying way too much on that. And I think, you know, this trend that we're talking about with slow food and driving people more to, you know, growing their own food, looking to local providers, buying more in the French style, you know, not going out and buying 2 weeks worth of groceries in one hit, but just going out and buying what you're having that day. You know, more often, I think could help us use less plastic, because we, you know, I agree, we're just damaging our oceans and our land and with this undisposable commodity.
Thank you, Sally. I appreciate that. Ian, would you like to add anything?
I'm hungry.
No picnic today because Helena's not there.
Why are you doing this to me? We're talking about food.
What a compliment.
He's eating in so many colors.
Well, for people who don't know, usually when Helena is with Ian and they're in the same place, they have a nice little picnic.
We do indeed, and the reality is that today I'm on a vegetarian diet at the moment, so I'm on my vegetables again tonight, and I'm very much looking forward to them as well. But all this talk about smoked salmon, as Simon knows, it's very much a favourite of mine at the same time. But being half Scottish. As well, and the cost of smoked salmon in my local supermarket now, I cut it in half, so I have for 2 nights. So and add some vegetables to it as well. So that's my sort of way of keeping the Scottish economy going, as I want to do so as well. But it's a marvelous food. There's no two ways about it. And I think for myself, as I say, as a reformed chocoholic, you know, anything that takes me away from eating too much chocolate has got to be a good thing. Can I say, just to add one last thing, in 2 weeks' time, it will be my birthday. So I would like to invite you to talk about my birthday as well next week. I'm making up a list at the moment of I think smoked salmon can come on it.
We need Helena back. Helena, where are you?
She keeps me under control. You know that.
I know.
I'm Helena free today. I can say what I want.
We sort of realised that.
Something that I've learned from this show today, from just hearing from each of you, is Ian saying that you're eating a vegetarian diet, and I'm thinking I'm intermittent fasting. It's like it doesn't pertain to anyone, but just in general, what we do to ourselves, right? We're doing this diet, that diet, this, and then eventually we go back to doing whatever it was we were doing before. Maybe if we just did what we were doing before and did it in moderation, to Sally's point, because it's a lot of pressure to change the way you're eating and eat differently, and then it impacts the people you live with. And so I don't know. I'm now going to have to rethink everything I'm doing. So thank you for that. It's a lot of pressure. Roland?
Well, I love this conversation. Really, I learned so much. Thank you to everyone. I have a taste of smoked salmon in my mouth. I don't know where I got it from. And I smell some red wine too. So
yeah, that's the other thing. It's no alcohol, then it's drink wine in moderation. Now it's some exotic cocktails. What did you say? Vodka and sheep's milk. I mean, is there anything else added to that? I can't imagine how that would be good.
I dread to think. Hopefully not a slice of lemon or something. I don't drink anyway, so this wouldn't appeal to me at all.
My grandfather used to start every day with whiskey and milk. He never had a cold in his life.
Well, I used to, if I needed to sleep at nights in the past, I would have 2 fingers of brandy in milk, and that's like knockout drops. If you're ever facing any sleepless nights, 2 fingers of brandy and a glass of milk, and trust me, you will go out like a baby.
Well, thank you for that tidbit. Well, we are actually out of time, and I've had so much fun. So let's do this again. I'm going to just spotlight each of you, and if you would share whatever message you have with the audience, and how can people get in touch with you, and who would you like to contact you? So I'm going to start over here with Mr. Simon.
Hello. Right. Okay. And I'm just going to do a quick hark back to this will be my saying for the week. What Ian was talking about, the 6 billion population. This was one to think about. There are more people alive today than have ever died. Now, work that one out. So you can contact me, and there it is on the screen. It's from that way, mcdonaldsimon@ymail.com, and it's the letter Y. And send a carrier pigeon as usual. We can always bring that down with a shotgun or whatever, and I'd smoke it and send it back. And you can contact me on Facebook and Instagram and all the usual social media, and LinkedIn as well. And anybody can contact me except for the Inland Revenue, please. There we go. And I look forward to seeing you all again.
Thank you, Simon. Over to you, Sally.
Oh, gosh. Well, I think I would like to say that there's going to be someone that you encounter today or tomorrow, if you're in the evening now, that needs a smile and needs a hug, or might need you to just make something for them. And I'd say do it, because you can only, I think making someone else's life a little more joyful is one of the most wonderful thing you can do for yourself as well. I think that's mine for the day. And then as far as contacting me, I'm very glad to hear from anyone, particularly if you're someone that needs help with, creating ingredients, creating recipes, wine pairing, writing cookbooks, anything like that. I'd be delighted to hear from anyone that has that need, and my contact details are there too. So thank you very much for having me on the show.
Thank you, Sally. Are you interested in doing a cooking show?
Oh, most definitely. I do miss that. I used to go down to Disney Food and Wine at the Epcot Center every year and do their big food and wine demonstrations. So absolutely love doing that.
Fantastic. I'll be in touch. Thank you. Okay, let's go over to Mr. Ian in red.
Mr. Ian in red. Mr. Ian in red is posting up his birthday wish list this week. It's the 26th of April. People can take me out to dinner. I'm very into sort of people buying food for me right now. Cakes are very, very acceptable, as is smoked salmon, and perhaps the odd totter of a whiskey just to wash it down with would be very nice. And if people want to contact me, I will give you out my email address, which I don't normally give out because who knows, there might be people out there mad enough to want to take me to dinner. So my email address is itphotographer, all lowercase, at gmail.com, itphotographer@gmail.com. And I want to be flooded out with viewers wanting to take me to dinner in UK.
I am speechless. By the way, we want to interview you about your photography career that you have delved back into. So, yes.
Yeah, after 20 years, JACALYN, I swear to God, after 20 years, someone had to buy me a camera even to actually start doing this.
Well, if you're available, our next show, which already started, but we're not there, we can have you on the show and talk about it. Okay, let us go over to Mr. Roland FRIEDL.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, whoever wants to reach out with me, just go to my main website. My name, rolandfriedl.com. I call it my main website because my offering is so broad. I'm so many interests and so many topics I've experienced. So go on this main website if you want to contact me, and you find a link to another website when you're more business-oriented, organization-oriented, leadership, executive-oriented, when you're more oriented on coaching and want to have maybe the same crazy like that myself, when you want to travel, work remotely from the best places in the world, the most beautiful ones, meeting incredible people, maybe you go to the Wildlife Life Rock site. And if you want to join our men's group, we have a US group and a European group. You're welcome. You find everything on this website. So thank you so much for having me here, and I wish you all an amazing day. Thank you.
Roland, one more thing before you go. Can you please share with our audience the new show that you're going to be hosting for men, about men, by men?
Oh yeah, sure. Thank you. So if you're a man or if you're a woman and you think your man should go out for an hour online and not disturbing you anymore, what do you want to do? We're gonna bring a new show on. It's called Wild at Heart, Bonfire Dogs, real, authentic, uncut. So this will be a bunch of men, just normal men. You know, there's so much fake stuff on. So normal guys from different countries with different backgrounds will meet weekly. Actually, it will be every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central European time, so it's 6 p.m. UK time, or noon in East Coast in the US. And we will just have normal talks, normal talks, topics, male topics. They could be deeper, they can be more shallow. Just a show from men, for men, with men's topics.
All right. Thank you very much. And again, that starts May the 4th. And we also have a new women's program, which is a woman's prerogative. And that also starts May the 4th. And that's at 4 p.m. Eastern time. So thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing you again soon. Sally, I'll be in touch. And Ian, if you want to be on our fashion, travel, and fitness show, which is starting, literally it already started, I'll send you the link.
Okay.
Okay. All right, everyone. We're just going to sign off all together. Bye. Take care, everyone. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.
I just want to let you know I have to send you the link because we meet in a different studio.
Okay, all right. I'll switch off and I'll come on to Gmail and I'll come back to you.
All right, thanks. See you soon. Bye.